We've all done it. We've all been in charge of Leicester City on Football Manager. We've all done our homework and decided that this player is the one. We've scouted him, checked out his stats, worked out our budget and slapped in a bid. We've heard his club's demands, heard the player's demands, matched both and finalized the deal. Easy. Real life, though, tends to be a little more complex, especially when your side is in the Premier League and looking to sign world-class players. How are football transfers actually conducted? Then here we bring you the 10 stages of a modern transfer deal. 1. The scouting. Leicester City bagged Riyad Mahrez for just £400,000 after scouts watched him play for Le Havre. Image Plum Images. Leicester City FC via Getty Images. Probably the most mysterious element, but absolutely crucial. After all, if you want to make sure a transfer is a success, it helps to start by having the right player involved. Football scouting is an evolving industry. The days of the old-school scout, making instinctive judgments from the stands, are not quite over, but they are fading, particularly at the top level. Many clubs now use computer programs, with Leicester using Wyscout to scour video footage and statistical analyses of players. It enables manager Craig Shakespeare, head of recruitment Eduardo Macia and director of football Jon Rudkin to run the rule over a player from the comfort of his office. But there is still much more than just computers. There is still the need for scouts in the field, watching with their own eyes, trusting their own gut. City have a vast scouting network in England and abroad, with a strong relations in France. How else do you snap up Riyad Mahrez from the second tier for just £400,000? There is also the personal element. Scouts in the field now spend almost as much time gathering intelligence, speaking to agents, forging relationships with a player's family and friends, and doing their best to stay a step ahead of their rivals. Few industries are more competitive, or, in football terms at least, more important, too. The bid. Leicester City have had a £23 million bid rejected for West Brom defender Johnny Evans. Image Stanley Cho. Getty Images. So once a player has been identified, the next step is the transfer loan offer. Pretty straightforward, you would think, but there is more than one way to start a transfer. The most obvious is for a buying club to submit a formal written offer for a player, seemingly by fax even in this day and age, which will then be considered by the selling club. Leicester City make inquiry for Liverpool defender Mamadou Sakho, but it is just as common for clubs to contact trusted agents to act on their behalf, either in finding an available player from another club, or finding a buyer for their own unwanted player. These agents act as intermediaries between the buyers and the sellers, and can set the wheels in motion for a deal that otherwise may not have been struck. 3. Tapping up. Riyad Mahrez has said he wants to leave Leicester City. Image Plum Images. Leicester City FC via Getty Images. Premier League rules state that a player under contract shall not directly or indirectly make any approach to another club without having obtained the prior written consent of the existing club to who he is contracted. Basically, that all transfer deals should be started from scratch. Reality, of course, is different. Rarely will a bid be submitted for a player without the buying club having contacted the player's representatives to see if he would be interested in a move, and if so, what kind of wages he would be after. Frowned upon certainly, but it is pretty much common practice across the game, although Liverpool did get into a spot bother over their pursuit of Southampton defender Virgil van Dijk. The bulk of a deal is often set up before a fee has been agreed between the buying and selling clubs. 4. The negotiations director of football Jon Rudkin, left, is the man in charge of negotiating Leicester City's transfer deals. Image Plum Images. Leicester City FC via Getty Images. For those of us in the media, transfer stories provide stock phrases, which are almost becoming clichés. Preliminary talks, advanced discussions, talks ongoing, personal terms, showdown talks. The list is growing. Such phrases evoke images of a group of people, players, agents, chairmen, managers, sat around a table sliding pieces of paper with figures on them to each other, to be greeted by a shake of the head and an add a nought onto that and come back, matey. Again, the reality is very different. Negotiation meetings are often brief, with an agent laying out a player's demands, and an official, usually the chief executive, the head of recruitment or the director of football, giving the club's side of things. Many discussions take place via WhatsApp. Issues which arise during negotiations often relate to, of course, salary, bonuses and signing on fees, as well as personal and social considerations. Players often leave the negotiations to their agents, and are kept abreast of the situation from afar. They usually meet with a manager before a deal goes through to discuss how he would fit in at his potential new club, and if they don't, then they're taking a huge risk. But in terms of sitting round a negotiating table discussing figures, rarely. 5. The Player's Dilemma. Kelechi Iheanacho meets City Vice Chairman Ayewot Srivardhana Prabha at the King Power Stadium. Image Plum Images. This is the age of player power in football, and there is little doubt that in transfer deals, it is they who hold the key. Fair enough, some would say. After all, it is their lives who will change. Considerations for a player prior to a transfer include how much playing time they would get if they moved clubs, whether they would need to relocate or learn a new language, whether they would be happy to work for the buying club's manager, and, particularly as you go down the leagues, the length of contract. Players, like anyone, want security. And, of course, there is also the financial aspect. Wages play a big part in any job decision, and in football the sums are vast, and still on the up. 6. The agents. Kelechi Iheanacho arriving at Belvoir Drive with his agents to complete his move to Leicester City. Image Plum Images. Getty Images. Leicester City. Boo. Often held up as the enemy of football, agents in truth suffer from a familiar problem: the conduct of a few bad apples ruining the whole batch. In reality, agents are an important part of the game, particularly at this time of year, and good ones are valued by both players and clubs. As stated, agents can be used by clubs to identify players, or to find clubs for players they're looking to sell. Their network of connections is often a valuable tool for managers, from the highest level down. They also, theoretically at least, should ensure players are able to focus on their football, without having to concern themselves with contract negotiations and discussions. A good agent should be as much a mentor and a confidant as a negotiator. They earn a pretty penny, mind. 7. The media. Leicester City unveil new signing Eldon Jakupovic. Image Plum Images. Leicester City FC via Getty Images. The relationship between the media and the transfer window is very much love-hate. They love it because the stories keep them knee-deep in copy, but hate it because sifting through the garbage is an arduous and often disheartening process. Regularly, reporters will receive tip-offs about potential transfers, often via agents but sometimes from other sources. The famous taxi driver from the airport is usually prevalent at this time of year, while any number of elite international players can be spotted heading towards Belvoir Drive, walking around High Cross or at Leicester train station. 8. The medical and the work permit. Kelechi Iheanacho undergoes his medical with club Dr. Ian Patchett at King Power Stadium. Image Plum Images. Leicester City FC via Getty Images. The final hurdles in a deal are the medical, and, for some players, the work permit. Medicals at top-level clubs are stringent, carried out at the training ground or a private hospital. But as time ticks away on deadline day, clubs, naturally, have been known to take gambles. Liverpool, for example, signed Andy Carroll in January 2011 while the striker was sidelined with a thigh injury. Basically, if both club and player want a deal to go through, then it will. Work permits, meanwhile, are needed for any player over the age of 16 who does not own an EU passport. Leicester City midfielder Papai Mendy rejects move to rent the buying club, basically, agrees to sponsor the player to be in the UK. A certificate of sponsorship is then produced by the club, which is submitted to the FA. The FA will grant the work permit if the player has played 75% of competitive games for a FIFA-ranked top 70 nation over the past 2 years. Failure to meet this requirement will see an application rejected, unless it can be proven the player was unavailable for selection due to injury. Leicester had this issue when they signed Croatia striker Andrej Kramaric in 2015. A club may appeal if their first application is rejected, which City did, with a panel convened to establish whether, in its view, the player's transfer would be of benefit to the game in the relevant country. It was decided that Kramaric would do that. 9. The drama. Islam Slimani joined Leicester City on deadline day last summer. Will there be more late deals this time around? Image Plum Images. Leicester City FC via Getty Images. It is a question that always gets asked when deadline day rolls around. Having had a month to get deals done, more if it is a summer window, why do we find so many clubs scratching around at 10 p.m. with an hour before deadline? Why do we have footballers rocking up at the last minute and waiting for the green light to go through? Why, elsewhere, have we got Harry Redknapp ringing up Nico Cranchar like our broken-hearted lover, asking to save him every single January? Is it purely to keep Jim White and his yellow tie in a job? Sky Sports to love their deadline day drama. But the biggest factor about deadline day, especially in January, is how much of a domino effect is in operation. Clubs try to plan as best they can, but one transfer leads to others, most famously when Liverpool signed Andy Carroll because Fernando Torres left for Chelsea. Additionally, a sudden run of poor form or injuries can lead to panic, particularly if a club is battling relegation, or chasing promotion. The risk of not adding to your squad when there are 4 months left in the season is deemed too big to ignore. Hence the panic buy signings on the final day. A club that is suddenly stripped of its star man late in the window, as Liverpool were with Torres, has to act fast, and that creates a knock-on, and a fair bit of drama too. 10. Done deal. Harry Maguire holds up a Leicester City shirt while also wearing a Leicester City shirt. Image Plum Images Getty Images. And there you have it. The fee is agreed, the personal terms are agreed, the medical is done. All that remains is to lodge the signed and sealed, finalised paperwork with the Premier League and the FA, and to make sure you get the obligatory smiling photo of the player with his new manager, and his new club's shirt. Or not smiling, as was the case with Robert Hoot. Simple. A.